Again, we say to each of you, we have waited for you your entire lives, and we're so happy you're here today. And today is a very important day. Each of you have not understood, and especially now, due to the conditions of your world. Let's start here. Each of you think that you kind of accidentally show up on the earth at certain times and you don't have merely much importance or value, and that's never true. You are on an eternal evolutionary journey. You've always been here. You're eternal spirits. And so what happens is you move through your life. You pick times to be here. You do. You pick the time that you want to live because you know that the conditions that will exist in the world will be the ones that will help you evolve. It's you. Everything that is occurring now in the world is occurring within you because you wanted to be here to experience this, to move you beyond your lack of belief in who you are, your doubt and your fear. That's what we've done. We said from the beginning, what we have done is we've planned all of these talks just to help you move beyond your fear and doubt, because this is a big one. What you are moving through now in your world, as we have called it, is restructuring, is to form something completely new. Yesterday, we explained to Roger what has been meant by mile markers, and we want you to understand this because you might understand yourselves a bit better. Some of you may have heard that term, and it's been used in different religious contexts, but we said the way we think of it and the way we use it, a mile marker is a place that you come to in your life where you recognize who you are. You find another part of you. See, we said we will reveal more of your value because as long as you are in existence, you are continually accumulating value because it comes in your wisdom and your experience and what you've gone through. But many of you have not understood your challenges and your difficulties and how valuable they are and how valuable they were for you to use now. We're saying that because you intended for them to become awakened now. You've been holding yourselves back, each of you, in small ways because you didn't think you were that important. You didn't think that your story mattered, and it did. All of your stories mattered. We told you that we gave you something in 2012. We gave you everything you needed to know in 2012, and we also said Roger did not believe that. Today, the message that is on the site, that our message on November 4th of 2012 said grudge. And what that meant is that some of you, many of you, most of you, are holding grudges. And that's what you're seeing in your world right now. And they're pointless. They're pointless because all they do is hold you back. See, because you think someone did something to you that caused difficulty in your life, or you weren't given a particular opportunity because of something that was lacking. None of that was ever true. It was only that you were having experiences that were designed to get you to awaken to your talent, to your ability, to your gifts. And you haven't done that because you were not meant to yet, because your evolution, your journey said this is the time that you were supposed to do it, which is why we called you here, so you could hear it. Now, we're saying that because we've also said to you, we have taken Roger to many places in his life, mile markers, if you will, that where he could have awakened to what he was here to do, and he chose not to. Several times. This time it was different, though. And today we told him, no, you can't do it, and really can't do it today because you're a double Scorpio. If you remember, we brought that up in our last talk. We said Roger is a double Scorpio. And why did we say that? Because you each use examples to move through your lives. And there are many of you here even who have these same abilities. And the tendencies, the characteristic of a Scorpio is regeneration. That's what you're doing now. That's what we've been saying, restructuring, building again. And then a Scorpion nature is to investigate, to find the truth of whatever it is. And the truth that we've been attempting to give you has been, you are really valuable and your talents are needed now. That's why we've been doing this. And we've said to you, this is the part we want you to understand, your evolutionary journey and your mile markers, okay? They're different. You will see all the different folks here now, different ages, different ethnicities, all of that, but you're all doing the same thing. Everyone. Every single person who is in the world now is doing the same thing. But some of you may not want to notice that or look at it, just like Roger did, you see, because it wasn't time for him in his particular journey. You are the only ones who will decide when you will move, when you will take that, when you will go through this, whatever you've been doing, holding yourself back, because we're saying, and we've told you before, we need you now. We need you to come alive now. And we'll tell you why we know this. Because some of you have gone through some really difficult and challenging experiences, and you've moved through them, and then you forgot about them. You forgot your value because, oh, I did that, and that's all right. That's easy. Except not understanding that that was something you were meant to give to the world. Then others have gone through some really challenging, horrible things that you're embarrassed about. Well, you wanted those, you see? You came to remove shame and embarrassment and all of those things. You're doing that. You do that all the time. As you move along your journey, your evolutionary journey, all you're doing in every lifetime, I know some of you don't get that, but you will see what we mean by this. But you move through it and you reach these places where you have awareness. Oh, this is who I am. Or I've moved through this. Or I've chosen not to. It doesn't matter. You have the ability to know exactly what's going on. Now, one of the things that we did, and we're talking about this because we really want you to understand how you have been a little fearful. You've been holding yourself back in some way because you thought you were insignificant. That is the natural condition, so to speak, of evolving. You come into the world and you forget everything you knew before because you wanted to learn new things and you wanted to break through or let go of old things. You each have, and some of you who have had really challenging times have not understood that you accepted from your ancestors, from those who came before, you accepted something from them that you chose to move through this time. You're helping them. That's how you change everything. That's how you change your past. That's how you change your history. Now, the other thing you haven't done is looked at your history, because if you had, you would know that this goes on all the time and you would not have been so fearful. That's what you did with your pandemic. You see, we've talked about that. We brought something else. We told you we go through all of these wild configurations to show you how nothing is accidental. You are not accidental. You didn't show up here accidentally. You didn't meet Roger accidentally. None of that happened. So yesterday we had him have a breakfast with his good friend who he hasn't seen in years, who was his roommate in 1982. Okay, we're telling you this story because you each are having this now. You have seen synchronicities, let's call them. You've seen certain things, you've seen dates, you're remembering things, you're meeting people you haven't seen in a while. Different things are happening and they feel to you to be synchronicities. Some of you call them deja vu. I've been here before, but that's not most of you. Most of you are having synchronicities. And those are meant to show you you're going in the right direction. Please keep going. Please do more. Please own who you are. Please give the world your gifts. That's what we're really saying, because many of you have made these equivocations that your talent and your gift isn't that important. And that's never true. Never true, because you chose what you were going to do. You chose in this life what you were going to move through, accomplish, break down, all of it. You chose that, and you chose the time. The reason we said that, and we gave you a message where we said you chose your time of birth so that you could connect it to your individual astrological chart. Now, some of you think that doesn't have any importance. It doesn't mean anything. Well, you may not use it, but it means something. Your world is energy. Everything is energy. And when you understand that, you make better utilization of it. So this particular new moon is filled with such potent energy that you could manifest the world that you want if you decide to do it now. Which is why we wanted to do this talk, to have you implant in your thinking, in your consciousness, what you want to see in your life and then that in the world. See, because that's how the world will change, because you don't like what you're seeing now. And we can say that because we know who all of you are. You here have the same desire. You wanted a world that was inclusive, that was equal, that loved people. And you've been pissed off that you haven't seen that, you see? And part of that is because you haven't been willing to own some aspect of yourself. And you know that. You've been holding on and you've been afraid and you've thought that someone else did it better than you or would do it better. All of those things, none of it has ever mattered. You chose to come to own who you are, and you chose this time, as difficult as it has been. And we're saying that because we want you to appreciate what you did. You see, you consciously, in the other realm, chose to come at this time because you knew it was going to be really difficult. And if you could come in and own who you are, your evolution would be catapulted to new heights. And then the world that you will see will be the one that you wanted instead of what you're experiencing right now. But it only happens if you decide to move into who you are, which is why we have on the screen what we gave you this morning. You see, you have not appreciated your value. And we've used Roger's entire life to show you this. Again, the reason that we used the 2012 is to point out the lack of belief that so many of you have in what you were given, because you felt it. You think, I have this talent, and maybe I could do something with it. Maybe it would benefit the world. But then you say, no, not me. So the reason we brought his old friend back from 1982 was so he could say something to you all. He said, why not you? As they were having this conversation, they were recounting so many other things. And see, it was, you have to, we want you to get this too, because you think random things happen in your life. They have never occurred. In 1982, Roger had just moved to Los Angeles and he needed a roommate. So he placed an ad, regular ad, just for a roommate. And miraculously, this person showed up. And this person was born as a Christian Scientist, as Roger. How did that happen? Because they're rare, it's not that common, you see. And then they had these shared experiences. And then their lives separated. And then they came back and they said, oh, we're doing the same thing now. How did that happen? We're saying this because you each have a plan. You meet people and experiences and circumstances at certain points in your life, all for the purpose of causing you to evolve, of causing you to understand who you are and see your value and recognize that and accept it and begin to use it. What is happening in your world now is that you are seeing a world where people do not know this. You do, but you've been holding back. You've been denying that because you haven't gotten to the place where that belief in yourself has been really strong enough that you're willing to step out. That's okay. That's why we have Roger. He's so transparent with this because he wants you to understand he's never done anything. We've said this many times. He's never done anything without a coach helping him, giving him some advice. You all do that. You're supposed to do that, you see? And we've also said that we use his entire first part of his life of all kinds of tragedies, horrible things that he would go through so that when he's speaking to you, he knows who you are. He can see it because he's had to go through that because it was his journey. It was his time. The difficulty that you each have is linear time, as we said before. You think that there's certain things that are meant to happen in your life by a certain age. That never occurs. It is your evolutionary journey. And that's why we are saying you have mile markers. You are eternal beings. So you're always going to keep evolving and expanding. Your value is increasing continually. But what you haven't understood is how much you already have. And we can say that because we looked at who was coming. We looked at the registration. We know, and we know who's going to listen too. And we know that you've been doing the same thing, but you will listen to this, you will hear this at the time when it was right, because you're the one directing this. You are the ones. You got here because you listened to your higher self. We also gave Roger another little definition for you all about resonance. You have that feeling, you'll hear something like, oh wow, that really I really resonate with that. Oh, that resonates for me. Or you use it all the time. But we want you to think of it like this. That experience is you remembering. You are actively remembering. It's just like a verb that we use. Resonance is a verb where you decide to actually listen to yourself. You're listening to your higher self. As we have said, when we speak, we are speaking to your higher self. And so when you have that resonance, it's because you decided to listen. You decided to listen to all the guidance that you've been given, because it's always there. You each have this. And we're pleased also, we want to acknowledge there's several people who have taken what we have said and decided to take it further. There's one that we love so much who has been with us for quite a while and has decided to take on the mantle and move forward in their way, doing exactly the same thing because they started to see what was happening. And yesterday, just before this, we planned this out again, they sent an email and they said, what is happening to me? Who have I turned into? Many of you are going to say that. And it will be for the better. You're opening up to your spiritual side. Let's just say that, because some of you have wanted to acknowledge it and you've seen it a little bit, but not understood it. You come into the world to make a difference. Every single person. This is the thing you haven't understood. And you haven't understood it, especially now, because you're seeing, as we've said many, many times, you're seeing all those other people that you disagree with, and you're having trouble. So now we'll tell you why you're here now, because you meant to change this. You are the ones who meant to change it. Every single one of you. You knew. We're going to go back. We heard something yesterday, and we're going to bring, because it's each of you. It's each of you. We heard someone say, oh, I've been doing something all my life because it's part of my family. You know, they did this. And it just comes naturally to me. And I never thought of charging money for this, but I'm getting older now. And I think that maybe I could do that, and maybe I could, but I do believe that what I have could really help people if they had it. It could help the world. But he said, but I'm not one of those who wants to change the world. And we said, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Each of you has had that. But you deny it. You don't want to own that. You don't want to say that. You did come to change the world, and we want you to accept that. It's embarrassing for you to say that, but you did it. But the thing you didn't understand is that you came at this time. You're not doing it alone. There are many others who are doing the same thing. So now you wanted to have all the help. You wanted the support. It is horrible feeling like you're alone. This is why on the last talk that we gave, we had Roger receive a recording from someone else who does the work as he does that was so similar, because we wanted to make the point that none of you are ever alone. You're unique and different, but you're not alone. You're all doing the same thing. That's why we said you are unique and doing the same. What that is you're trying to own yourselves always. Everyone is doing that. And when you understand that, you start to change. Now, we also gave you our 3 A's, and we want to use those again, because when you get this, it will help you to move through this current period with greater ease, and you won't create more conflict in your world. When you understand everyone is looking for the same thing, and so are you. Acceptance, approval, and acknowledgement. That's it. That's what you're looking for, because they guide you, you see. When you have those things, when you feel them, you can know that you're going in the right direction. And when you don't have them, and when you're not receiving them from someone else, because that's what you think sometimes, that you have to get all of these acknowledgments from other. No, this is about you. That's the big one. See, even Roger thought all this time that we were talking about everyone out there. No, if you get this, if you decide to accept of yourself, approve of yourself, acknowledge who you are, that is how your world changes. And then you will fulfill the promise that you keep denying that you made, because you did. We could go through so many of you here now and point out some of the things that you've done that have held yourself back. But you are the ones who want to move through that. We give you hints always. We do that in our writings. Many of you know that. You've seen it. That's when you feel that resonance, as you call it, because you're listening. You're actively listening to what you're being guided all the time. You each are that powerful. If there's one thing that we can impart on all of you, is to understand that there's no one that has more ability or power than you. And we said in the beginning when we started doing these talks that you misunderstood power. You see, power means that you're choosing to use your thoughts in a way that are leading you to your expansion, to your evolvement. And you always know the difference. That's mindfulness. If you stop and pay attention to what you're thinking, what you're putting out, you will understand this. And this is why we're speaking of this now. We're going to give you another example that we just saw yesterday, and we want to explain it because many of you have done this. And we're going to use your country. We're going to use, we're in the United States. We're going to use the United States now because you had an election, and then it doesn't matter what parties, because you all do this. You had an election, and then and this is what in Virginia, that's the one. And so then one party lost, and then they said, oh, wow, now everything's going crazy because of this. And we looked at that and we thought, well, why? Why would that be occurring? Because all you did was just do what you've always done. But this time you decided to make it worse. This time you decided to make a different stance. We're talking about historical things, you see, that you could look back and see, well, this has happened and that has happened, but you've chosen a narrative that causes you to feel worse about yourselves. You've done that in your lives. We're using that example because, see, you don't look at that. You will pick one thing, and it's usually from your past, that you think, oh, well, I can't get over that. I can't change that. I couldn't do anything better than that, or I'm doomed because of it. No, each of you here, you came to do something different, you see. You came to undo the old. And that's really what you'll find when you start looking up mile marker. You'll see that that's what it's always been about. Letting go of the old structures, letting go of the old beliefs, letting go of your old limitations, letting go of your old restrictions. That's what you're doing. And this is a powerful time. And as we said, you can utilize the energy of the Scorpio to do that. The Scorpio energies that are apparent now in the next couple of hours, you really feel it. You really feel it. But then you'll get to decide. Am I going to continue to hold myself back, or am I going to move forward? That's the only choice you have. And it's the one that you've always made. And we're saying this because we've used Roger's entire life to demonstrate this to you. Now, he can tell you now that it was so worth it because it's shifted. See, he's discovered that what he was meant to do is to help each of you move forward. And there's nothing more joyful than that. We gave you that. We told you. We had him write something the other day. He didn't know why he was doing it, but we just said, just write. I have the best job in the world, because he knows he's suffered so much. He held himself back. He never wants anyone to go through that. He doesn't want to see that. And that's why it's his mile marker, you see. And it's for all of you, because you wouldn't be here unless it were true. You don't end up in accidental places. But now you'll just decide if you will listen, if you will hear it, and if you will move. The only thing, and this is just as challenging for each of you. We've told you the authenticity is where you're trying to get to. And you reach that when you let go of your self-judgment. None of you were born with anything that was wrong. We're going back to the roommates now from 1982. You see, we told you that they came in, because this is going to relate to what's going on in your world currently. They came in, they met one another, discovered that they were both Christian Scientists, and they were not supposed, and they were going to work through everything with just their spiritual beliefs and their minds and all of that. They started that, they both did it, and they both had horrible experiences moving through it. Physical things that shouldn't, why is this happening? Why are they having that? They each came to understand, which they spoke of yesterday, that they moved through those things because it was their resistance that was holding them back. And now they're in a new place where things have changed. They're different because they took the time and went through those things, understanding that they were doing it for not just themselves, but for everyone else. You each are doing that. We're absolutely going to have you believe this. You've each taken on things from your families, from your ancestors, from your countries, from your whatever. You talk about that old stuff. Oh, that was different. We want to change that. And the way we're going to change that is that I get to embody who I am. I get to own all of my talents, and I get to put something new into the world. We've explained this before. That's how your world evolves. All you have to do is look outside. You see, it looks completely different than it did 100 years ago. Because you looked at what you had and decided, okay, let's do something different now. That is what is occurring now. We know that it feels to you as if things are falling apart, and we're telling you things are coming together. You are starting to do this now, and we're saying this because we want you to plan it now. The reason we brought up the story of the election thing is that this was implanted. You're taking something and projecting it into your future. So how could you create anything different? You're saying, oh no, everything's falling apart. Well, yeah, that will be a reality then. If you decide that that's what's occurring, it will be a reality. We are telling you that is not what's happening. What is happening is that you're building this beautiful new world. If you decide to get out of the way, and it is you. It has nothing to do with anyone else, it is you. The reason that you see that you've witnessed those screaming for their freedom, we know you've seen it everywhere, all over the world. You've seen that is because they've never felt it and they've never understood where it was. And we're just going to keep saying this. We know this is difficult and challenging for a lot, but the fact is you have all the resources that you need within you if you were able, if you were just willing to access them and allow them to come through and own them and stop labeling them. What we mean by that is you've had the tendency of labeling your experiences as good or bad. They are not that. They're experiences. That's all. They're experiences that you wanted. You wanted your doubt. We're going to say that. You wanted it because you've carried it for eons, you see. And then when you decide to move and get beyond it, then you say, wow, this is who I am. This feels really good. You know, we've given you the skydiving, the Will Smith. Keep looking at it because that's it. You got to jump in, and this is the time where you need to jump out of the airplane and fly because you have that within you. We know who you are. That's why we called you here. You did not come here accidentally. And you're hearing things that are resonating. We know that because it's part of your life, and you know where you've thought that your talent wasn't as important, your invention wasn't as meaningful. It was. And we're saying that because we've used Roger's entire life to demonstrate it for you. And he's completely fine with that. He's completely okay. See, because when you understand, we want you to get this, because some of you are judging yourself because of what you've done and your difficulties and all of that. When you understand why you put yourself through that, why you allowed yourself to go through that, we want you to hear that because you did. When you understand why you did it, you will extract this value from it, and the pain of that completely leaves. It's just gone. You will not carry that into your next life. We know many of you don't get that, but we're going to say it anyway. But you're releasing things now so you never have to repeat them again. That's the other thing. Many of you you've been beating yourself up for years because you said, oh, wow, you said, I keep repeating the same things over and over again. Yeah, you did. Because you wanted to know now that you don't have to do it anymore. You wanted to know now. You waited for this moment, you see, because you knew that this new moon in Scorpio was going to be so powerful that you could decide to utilize that and say, okay, and now I'm going to really move and do something with my life. We had Roger say to his friend, but several months ago, he recognized when he was working with someone and he listened to something and he said, oh, wow, my ego wasn't there. My ego wasn't involved. This is why he sees you differently, you see. Your ego is this thing that you've created that keeps you stuck, that keeps you locked into this small box. And it's very clever at doing that because it has fear and doubt. That's what it uses. We've told you that's what happens. You come into the world and you use fear and doubt to navigate your way to love. We're going to keep saying that because that's the end result in this particular lifetime for you. You move through your fear and doubt. You use them. You'll fear something, and either it's going to guide you in the right direction or you're going to become aware of how you've not owned yourself. It'll do one or the other. And then you use the doubt because it's really uncomfortable, you see. That's the thing that tortures you the most, is the doubt. But then that's purposeful because you have to do something. We're asked, how do you move beyond it? You just do it. You just keep going. That's it. But we're saying that because you have the energy at your feet right now. At this moment, it's just so thrilling. And we are so pleased that you're here, that you've decided to take on this journey because it's really, really important. We've said that you're doing this now to create the world that you want in your future. And it's going to be in a few months if you do your work, if you decide to do this. The next couple of months are going to be a little challenging. We will say that because not many of you have moved. And we want to say that because you need to understand that you still operate in linear time. And because you've been so resistant to change, all humans, it takes a while for things to start to manifest and show up the way that you would like them to be. Which is why, again, we go back to 2012. Because we can go back and we can show you anything that we've written, that we've given to you during that time that will make sense to you today, that you may not have understood that then. We know Roger didn't understand them. That's why it's been challenging for him to look at those and see, how can I not have known that? You each are doing that, and you will see that. You always discover this when you decide to leave your physical body, when you're about to die. It all comes back, you see it. And then that's when you also kind of start talking about your regrets. If I had only done this, why didn't I believe in myself? Why did I do that? So we've told, we had Roger do this, and you each would do well to search yourself. Go and do a search, because you have technology that allows you to do this. Do a search and ask, what is the question that those say on their deathbeds? What do they say? They always talk about their regrets, what they didn't do, how they listened to everyone else around them and didn't do what they said it was meant for them. Back to the friend. We're going back because we want to really talk about this. So, as these two individuals who arbitrarily came together and had these very odd reckonings, because they each were Christian Scientists, that didn't make any sense. Different, come from very different places, different ages, everything was different. However, they had a shared experience, and that shared experience was orchestrated by their higher selves to bring them together, to give them understanding of what their journey was. You each will see that, you each have that as well. And what they each have done is move through an understanding the connection between your mental states, your physical states, your illnesses, your diseases, and all of that. And they each orchestrated ways in their lives that has aided their evolvement, which they're giving back to the world now in their way. See, they had to do it in their way. And we're saying this because you each have been fighting over your virus and your vaccines and all of that, and you don't understand why they're there. You always have them. You've had them throughout humankind, but they're meant to bring you together. They're meant to cause you to look at one another differently and understand your differences and accept them, and understand that every person is doing a different journey. But you have this problem because you think you need to make yourself right and everyone else wrong. And that's what you're saying now. And that was never your intention. Your intention was to own who you are, was to offer something of value to the world. Because you knew that that would change it. You wouldn't see the world out there. We're saying this because we keep putting the pressure on you. You would not see the world in chaos as it is now if more of you had decided to own who you are and become the loving individuals that you were meant to be, because that's why you were born. And we know that. You've had that little thought, could it be me? You see, that's why we've given you several of those messages, and we're going to talk about it. When Roger and the friend were speaking yesterday, this friend said, we're always asking the question, why not me? And that is the question we want each of you to ask yourself, because we know that you've had these ideas about what you might do in this life and what you might become, or what your business might become. Some of you have had that, and you wanted your business to really expand and really to take off. It will now. We're saying that because if you move into who you are, if you start embracing every aspect of yourself, abundance is the natural result of that action. For each of you, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Money of itself has no value. You each assign that. That's a human thing. You just assign that. However, you do use it to move through your lives, and you use it to measure, how well you're doing, possibly. But we're saying to you, because again, you folks are a little different. You folks are a little different. You've had these hearts that had so much to give. That's why we gave you the story of the gentleman yesterday who's been doing this, you see, his entire life. And it came from his family, and it was natural. So it must not be of any value. No, it is of value, and you need to change that now, because your value is needed in the world. We keep saying that. Because see, when you come, we're going to explain this in a little different way now. When you come into the world, you decide to take a particular path. Each of you have done it. Even the things that you are seeing now that you don't agree with, or that you judge to be bad, or whatever it might have been, you've probably done some of those things. You've done it. So you can't judge that. You've probably done it. But this time, you're here to do something a little different, and you know what that is. You're here to offer a different view of things. You're here to break through old barriers and restrictions. You're here to offer love. You're here to offer more understanding and inclusion. You do that as a society every time you go through one of these huge transitions. And that's why more and more people, every time you do a transition, a restructuring, as we've called it, you come out better. And you're each doing that now, which is why you wanted to be here. And there are no exceptions to this. Now, we will say that you may not choose to move on what you feel in front of you now, and that's okay, because we don't want you to judge yourselves. That's why we continually use Roger's example, because he held himself back forever, and it took a long time before we told you he didn't even want to do this. That was the last thing. And we said, well, that's the thing that you have fun with, you see? That's the thing that you enjoy the most. We're saying that because you all have something that you enjoy, that gives you pleasure, that you feel, that causes a smile to come on your face, but you don't think that it's important, you see? And it is important. Roger asked his friend yesterday, well, how are you moving through all of this? Because he's traveling the world, you see. He's just decided that after he's moved through, they both moved through many, many major physical ailments that you think could not have been healed. This friend had cancer and many other things, and it's all gone. He's traveling the world. And he said, well, what are you doing? He goes, I'm meeting people where they are. I'm finding people. I'm just traveling. I want to understand them. He talked about watching a documentary where he just wanted to understand other people. And in that understanding, he just came to complete acceptance of himself. That's what you each are doing now. You came to offer more understanding, because everyone that you see, that you're judging, that you think they're doing terrible things, they don't understand, they're not moving where you're doing that, you see, but you came to change it. This is the time you came to change it. You would not be listening to us, you would not be here if this was not an opportune time in your evolutionary journey. That's what we have to say. And it's different for you. We don't know what you chose, what you picked up to move through this time, but it is relevant, and you meant to do it now. Because see, what will happen, we want each of you to understand this, because especially the ones who are judging yourselves for your past, you're the biggest ones that we want to speak to, because when you understand that the value that you gain within yourself from moving through whatever you did, or handling it, or healing it, or what, and when you own that and embrace it and decide to give it back to the world, more people will understand that and begin to accept themselves, and your world will look quite different. We really want you to get that. And this is the time where you got to implant it now, because it takes time for it to manifest. You're not going to see it tomorrow. That's the interesting thing that we will notice, is that, and you should pay attention to this, because you will make decisions about things based on your past. That's never what you intended. You're doing it as individuals, and you're doing it as a world. Your countries are doing it, and you're doing it as a world. And that keeps you in limitation. You see, it keeps you restricted. You came to do something different. Each of you have these wonderful journeys that you've chosen to take, that were meant to actualize now. And we just love saying that, because we know you wouldn't be hearing it unless that were not true for you specifically. We felt that. You felt that. That acknowledgement, we felt it, that you acknowledge, oh yeah, I've been holding that back. Oh, I haven't done that. Oh, I was afraid of that. Oh, I thought someone was better. You've all done that. But every time you've done it, it was good. See? Because it was wrong. Now you know. You're going to start to know it was wrong. And you're going to start to understand that your particular journey was about every day, each and every day, just accepting more of who you are. That's all it is. It would never need to be more than that. There's so much. We're going to continue with our talks. We're going to, we have so much that we're going to give you. As we told you, we gave you in 2012 your life operating instructions, and we're going to keep moving through that, because it's fascinating to even watch Roger as he goes back to them and starts to decipher them to get the information, the wisdom that was there, which will be relevant and pertinent to your world now. And so we will continue with that. But we want you to understand that today, the purpose of today, we don't want you to miss this opportunity. And you're going to feel it. The opportunity for you to finally say enough with the holding back, enough with the doubt, enough with the fear, and start owning who you are. Really, you've heard this forever, not just from us. You've heard it from every religious, let's say, a prophet or master that any of you have had. You've heard the same thing over and over and over again. But this time you might decide to believe it. You may decide that this point in your evolutionary journey, this is the mile marker that you want to notice. This is the one that you're going to pay attention to, and that you're going to decide now to start to do what you've always wanted to do, and to have fun doing it. We're saying that because that's the important factor. None of you meant to suffer. None of you came here to be unhappy. Now, you went through those things to get to now. We know you heard that. You were supposed to. And so you each have the opportunity During this next time, actually, today is really, really powerful, and there's, like we said, the energies are there, and they're for you to utilize. But within the next month and the next 2 months, wow, if you do what you said you were going to do, you will have the world and the life that you wanted. We're just going to say that, but it's in your hands. We're saying this because we keep revealing things a bit at a time to allow you to accept, because this disbelief that you've had about your importance has been with you for quite a while, and so you, depending on where you are in your journey, you will accept it a little bit, but you're getting some of it now. But we really wanted you to just take this day, and in your consciousness, it to plant in there what you want to see in your life and what you want to see in your world, and that's what you'll focus on. That's the only thing you're meant to focus on. And then as you begin to see the conflict, the chaos, because there's going to be more of it, you will see it. We want you to call in your understanding, you see, because that's much more powerful. We gave you a message. We want you to understand this, because this is why we brought it up the other day, and this was in our 2012 information. There's a vast difference between projecting and imagining. When you're projecting, you can only do that from what you know now, from what you've experienced, from what you think you are. You're projecting, and what you're projecting is what's going to go wrong, what's going to happen, what's going to fail. Nothing's going to ever change. We hear so much of that. Well, yeah, if you're projecting that, that's what you're going to create. That will be your new world. Welcome to it. Or you could decide to imagine what you imagined when you were born. You can go back to that memory. You say, oh, wow, you saw a world that was going to be different. You saw you happy. You saw you prosperous. Some of you had the house with the white picket fence and 2 kids. Some of you had that. You had different things. You had those ideas. Those are the visions that you are meant to hold on to now and implant them. What is right for you? What is appropriate for you? Because you deserve it. You have put in so much, and you have not acknowledged it all. You've not given yourself the opportunity to really embody the amount of work you've put into your life just by being here. Some of you will understand and accept this, but we're going to keep trying. This particular time, as we've called your restructuring, has been challenging. It's been difficult. It's been fearful. But we also want you to appreciate the fact that you chose it. You see, you chose it because you knew that if you were here now, and if you can maintain this understanding and this belief in who you are, wow, you are going to move leaps and bounds through your evolution. And that will be felt in your world, the world that you are creating in this moment. It's for each of you. The one thing that we love doing, and when we meet with you through Roger, we'll give you this, because many of you had it. We did it yesterday, as a matter of fact. So we do it all the time. Okay, we're going to explain something a little different, because we want to explain our communication. We want to, because some of you have not been here and do not know this particular experience, but you each have the ability to listen to yourselves and kind of get this information and that. But some of you have made it difficult, and that's been over not just you. We're talking about your society, because you've placed people in positions of hierarchy. We told you before, that's all what we're changing now. You've placed people in positions of hierarchy, and then you believe that you don't have the same abilities to access what they're doing. And you've even done that in your spiritual world, as you call it. You see, because there are some that will come in and they will do what we're doing. They'll channel and all that, but they'll do things that sound a little different and go into these, very different voices, and that's appropriate for them. However, we weren't going to do that, because we want you each to understand that you have such ability to hear yourselves if you're not afraid of it, if to listen to yourself, to receive guidance, which is why we were so pleased when we see that some of you have taken that step and moved in that direction. And that's going to be so powerful for you. We're just so pleased that you're here. You must appreciate what you have chosen to do. You have chosen to take on a life that gave you challenges and circumstances that were all beneficial. They were all beneficial. We want you to understand that, because now, when you get that, this period that you're in will allow you to create something that's going to be magnificent for your life and the world to come. And as you come together, more and more of that will occur for each of you. What we would like to do now, we would like to open for questions, anything that you would like further clarification, any difficulty, challenges that you might be experiencing in your life at this moment. You do have the ability to unmute, I believe.
I've had some pains yesterday, and I found myself screaming and shouting, which I've been told is actually a good way to release some of the energy. But what I discovered is it's the closer I get to this event, the more my body is going, you're sick, you better lay down, you better quit,
Yes.
you better stop.
Yes.
And I was blaming, I was looking for every other reason. Oh, I ate too much of this, or I ate too much of that. And I don't think it's the food that's making
No,
me
okay, you've given us so much. But first of all, this yelling and screaming, many of you have done that, but you're yelling and screaming at yourselves. That's the first thing. You're yelling and screaming at yourself because you're experiencing your frustration with your inability to understand or move or whatever it might be. So you're yelling and screaming at yourself. That's what's going on there. And then the aches and pains are your resistance. But it's a natural thing. Don't judge yourself for this one. As we said, everything is connected. Everything is energy. Your stars, your planets, all of it, and your bodies. And so as you make movement, everything is moving. And so when you resist, yes, you're going to feel it in your bodies and all of that. But sometimes we don't want you to judge this because you don't have a memory of it. But sometimes you have taken on the pains, the aches and pains of those who have come before, you see. You've decided that you're going to move through their aches and pains because they didn't understand it. But now and once you accept that and move through it, that'll be gone. Your bodies will be fine. We told you that Roger was going to do his blood work on Monday. He got the results back. We had that. Well, we don't know how that occurred. And as we said, he's done this forever. He looks at things in a different way. When you look at your bodies as spiritual vehicles that you're using, you did just things that you're using to understand your spirituality. It becomes different. You each do it in different ways. It doesn't matter. There's no right and wrong there. This is just what he has chosen because of his particular life path. And so when he looked at the numbers yesterday, they were all great. There was one thing that was a little off, and he goes, oh, that's my indulgence. One tiny little thing. And that didn't make sense for someone who has gone through his medical issues and then at his age. But we are saying this and we're bringing it out because you each have that ability. And so thank you for that question, because understand that sometimes your physical ailments are helping you to move into a new place when you decide to experience them and ask them why they are existing, why they are in your experience. Do we have more?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. One of the biggest issues that many of you have taken on is shame and guilt. You have that. So this is, okay, we want you to appreciate why you did that and why it feels so terrible, because you're going to move through it now. And again, you've picked it up from before, so you don't need to remember that, but you have picked it up. But as you move through it now, it is going to change your life in such a big way. And it's not easy. That's why we give you things. We say take baby steps, but understand that's what you're doing. You're moving through that shame and guilt. And all of you are moving through the restrictions, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. All of you have taken on something from your past ancestors or whatever that you are, or otherwise you wouldn't be doing this. You have to take that information that has come before so that you can analyze it and use it and see, well, what am I working on during this time in my life, in my evolutionary journey? And each of you, as you do that, you create something new. We want to say this again, because the fighting that is occurring, and it's going to go on for a little while, we want you to understand it always has gone on. It's always occurred. It's always happened. It's bigger to some of you now, but it's always occurred. But what happens, as we've said, the thing that resolves is the love, and because the spirit is all that ever remains. That's it. And so now we're saying that because we need you to. You have to find the love. And the love is going to be you. Stop denying who you are. Stop it. Own your talent. Go for it. This is the time. And we're doing this because this is such an energetic time on your planet. This particular time. And again, these next couple of months, if you utilize it for your benefit, you will have the life that you dreamed of, and you will start to see in your future the world starting to move in the direction that you wanted. We're going to give you another example. We're going to do this and this again, we're going back to the United States. We said when we started with these, we said you're going through a restructuring, and the United States will lead the way. But we're going to give you one example with your current president in the United States. There are a lot of things going on in controversy, but we want you to just examine one thing. He doesn't seem to be flustered. You each have been flustered. You each have been a little unsure. So you're starting to find a bit more confidence now. And so we just use examples for you to see, to look at, to examine some of your behavior, because most of it has been that you've labeled yourselves as not being worthy of, and so when someone else will give you some information or say something different about you, you shrivel. Again, we said before, you're here now to figure out a way to own who you are, own your beliefs, your talent, your gifts, and all of that, and give it back to the world. And you're going to always do it in a way, in a manner that you know is going to help the world come together rather than cause further division. That's why you're here, and that's why you chose to be here now. And the way that you're going to do that, the way is to own yourself and stop denying yourself and judging yourself, and just appreciate all the brilliant work that you've put in to arrive here now. That's what you've done. Do we have more? We will do other talks. So this is, if we do not have more, we want to leave you with something. Please do this. Please do this, because we started this where the effects of your new moon are just beginning. They're in different places, but they're just kind of starting. So you have this opportunity now to say, okay, I'm going to take this energy, as you know, everything is energetic, and I'm going to say, what do I want? What am I going to do? What is my life going to look like now? How do I want the world to look? Please do that and implant it. Just place it in your consciousness. That's all. We're going to give you one other thing, and then we want you to understand why we're saying this. We gave Roger something to do 7 years ago. We said, just write this down. You don't have to think about it anymore. Just write it down, put it there. Because once you write it down, it's in your consciousness. Doesn't matter when it comes about. The timing, that never matters, but it's going to come about. And that's what's happening now. And so that's what we're saying, because that's been the experience. Because we want you to we want you to take what we're giving you really seriously, and just understand how vital it is now, not only for you and your evolution, but that of your world as well. We thank you. We thank you so much for being here, and we thank you for your courage and for your bravery to take on this role, to live your life, because it was that you did this, and you're so wonderful, and we love you so much, and we're so glad that you're here. And for today, we are complete.